folk. Red Sox fans have longed to hear it. The Boston Red Sox are world champions.
Papelbon sets. At the belt. The pitch. Swing and a miss. It's over. The Red Sox have swept the Colorado Rockies. The Red Sox are the world champions of baseball for 2007.
It hasn't happened at Fenway Park for 95 years. The Red Sox are world champions.
Sale winds. He fires. Swing and a miss. Strike three. It's over. The Red Sox have won the world championship. The Boston Red Sox beat the Los Angeles Dodgers 5-1. They win the World Series 4-1. And the Red Sox become the first team in the 21st century with 4 world championships. Can you believe it?
And welcome back to episode 3.5, the emergency pod of the Fenway Faithful podcast. It has been a big week of Boston sports news. The Bruins won in overtime last night. Makes it a 3-2 Buffalo lead, hoping they could come back winning Game 7. Celtics have a 3-2 series lead. Tatum and Brown looking good as ever. And the Red Sox called up Tyler Samaniego. Let's go.
Huge news.
Biggest news of the week. But in all seriousness, there has been a firing squad in Boston. They have fired Alex Cora, the manager, for how many years now? Since 2018. Bench coach Ramon Vasquez. Hitting coach Peter Fatsi. Assistant hitting coach Dylan Lawson. Third base coach Kyle Hudson. Hitting strategy coach Joe Cronin. And Red Sox legend, game planning and run prevention, Jason Varitek. So sad. Legend. So sad. He was reassigned, but that's practically firing.
That position out of anything, the run prevention coach, I'm so worried about how we will ever play 162 games without a run prevention coach. But we'll get into that all.
I mean, Breslow's talking all season about being a good run prevention team, and if you fire the run prevention coach, what are we supposed to do?
What do you think the run prevention coach does? We should get 3 outs before one of the guys on the other team gets around home. That would be my philosophy as a run prevention coach.
You should get hired. They're looking for someone.
Really? I should apply.
Yeah, you should.
A common theme over the last couple of years has been a power struggle between the coaches on the field and the front office nerds upstairs. We saw it with Breslow versus Cora here. We saw it with Bloom versus Cora. And to a lesser extent, we even saw it with Dombrowski versus Henry. Round 3 has been won, and it's been won very decisively by Craig Breslow and the nerds. They fired the entire coaching staff. That right there is a statement in and of itself. This was not about one person. This was about who holds the power, who holds the cards, who makes the important decisions. It's not about Cora's aptitude as a manager. I think he's widely considered one of the higher tier managers in the league, and that is evident that less than a week after he's fired, he's already offered a new job in Philadelphia, which thankfully he did not take. That would have hurt to have seen him in a Philly uniform that quickly. But at the end of the day, why did it come to this? It came to this because we know John Henry likes to pick a scapegoat. We've seen it over and over again. If the Red Sox are one thing, they are predictable. And to pick a scapegoat, somebody has to die. And why did Cora get axed instead of Breslow? Here's my theory. Breslow is able to show John Henry a number of players that have either exceeded since they left the team or have underperformed while they're with the team. I think most notably we're looking at James Tibbs, the outfielder traded to the Dodgers for Dustin May. We're looking at Kyle Harrison, the left-handed pitcher, pitching for the Milwaukee Brewers now. Even Nick Pivetta was pitching like a Cy Young candidate for the San Diego Padres as soon as he left here. Breslow is able to show that to John Henry and say, look, I'm getting you all-star, high-caliber players, and the guys that are controlling them down on the field are not getting them to play to their best of the abilities. Now, a second reason that I think we got to this situation is Rafael Devers. There still hasn't been a scapegoat for the Rafael Devers situation because the season turned around so great and we were able to just forget about it. But I do think deep down, Craig Breslow holds Alex Cora responsible for the Rafael Devers situation. Now, why do I think that? Rafael Devers stressed for weeks, and trust me, he made it very, very clear, that the big problem with all the positional changes was the lack of communication. So maybe the front office was unclear on their direction, but at the end of the day, it's up to the communicator to be able to clear things up to Devers, and that communicator was Alex Cora, and he clearly did nothing of the sort. And as a result, Rafael Devers was pissed, and in 2 months, he's no longer on the team. Now, the third reason I think we're here kind of goes back to my original point that it's about a power struggle. It's about who calls the shots. And listening in to Breslow and Sam Kennedy's press conference, which just made me want to throw up in my mouth so many times. It just disgusts me. They kept calling Chad Tracy a stabilizing voice. They used that term multiple times. So when you call Chad Tracy stability, a guy that's been here for a cup of coffee, what you're conversely saying is Alex Cora is instability. Alex Cora is a loose cannon, is what they were trying to show. Alex Cora was uncontrollable. They would tell things to Alex Cora that he would not go out and execute. And that is part of the reason where Breslow goes to Henry and says, I have all of the ingredients for a great team, but the guys down on the field refuse to follow my orders. And as a result, Henry's left saying, what am I supposed to do here? I have what many people think is an elite manager on the field, and I have Craig Breslow, who, say what you will, he's in charge of the roster. He has extreme power. Those two positions need to be meshed. They need to have a cohesion between them. And it's very clear that there wasn't any, and somebody had to go. And those are the reasons that why I think it was Cora and it was not Breslow. And I think we can all agree that it probably should have been Breslow.
I 1000% agree with that. I agree with your three reasons. I do see it as a power struggle. We've seen this for years of the back and forth between Cora and whoever was the president of baseball operations at the time, whether it be Bloom or if it was Breslow. I remember at the trade deadline a couple years ago, we were all getting mad at getting that Bloom called us underdogs and he didn't add at the deadline. And Cora was a part of the coaching staff that was getting mad at that, didn't add. There's always been a back and forth between the two positions.
That Chaim Bloom line from, what year was that, 2022, where he called us underdogs at the deadline, is the grossest quote I've ever heard in my entire Boston sports fandom. But continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So there's clearly been a disconnect between the two positions. So that's why I think Cora gets the firing here. I obviously agree that it should have been Breslow, but I don't like these baseball nerds taking over these baseball teams like this and just making terrible decisions. And Breslow hasn't even been in a baseball ops position like this before. I really think it was because of a couple things. It's because he's more of a win now manager. So I think him being on the Phillies would have been a great fit, Cora. But this roster just doesn't seem it's ready to win now. He likes to play the veteran guys. He doesn't play the young guys like Breslow wants. Breslow sees this roster. He gives Cora these guys on the roster and says, I want this roster to play like this. And Cora is not making the roster play like Breslow is envisioning. So that's why Breslow canned him.
Isn't this the plot of Isn't this the plot of Moneyball?
Pretty much. Pretty much. He's not playing the roster like Breslow sees it. So that's why he gets rid of Cora. I mean, you see the disconnect as well in the hitting philosophies from the minor leagues up to the majors. Mm-hmm. We get these prospects, they're raking down in the minor leagues, they get called up to the majors, and all of a sudden they forget how to hit. You saw that with Campbell. You're kind of seeing that with Marcelo Meyer. He hasn't been as good. Roman Anthony is struggling right now. You see a little bit of a disconnect there. Cora's a player's manager, so I really think this could be disastrous right away, but I do agree it was a power struggle. We've never seen it's been years since we've seen our GM or baseball ops bring in their own guy. They've always been stuck with Cora. Being stuck with Cora isn't a bad thing, but they were always stuck with Cora. They weren't able to hire their own guy. I think they fire him and call up Trad Tracy to be our manager to help with the younger guys. I really think because a lot of these guys on this team have played for Tracy before. Tracy's more of a developmental manager. I think they think he'll be able to get the best out of these younger players more than what Alex Cora was getting, and it just buys Breslow more time making this decision.
I completely agree. One of the key things that you hit on there was the hitting philosophy. And here is where I think the disconnect between the front office and the managers and the coaches is so evident. It's very clear that the nerds upstairs emphasize launch angle and BABIP, and they don't care about strikeouts. They want you to lift the ball, and that's it. And time after time, we've seen it for years. Cora goes to the media after these games, and he frankly rips apart his own team's hitting philosophy. He always stresses about putting the ball in play. He always stresses that strikeouts do not lead to wins. And when your manager is in direct, he doesn't believe in what is being sold to these players at the major league level. He's almost telling them not to do what they're told. It sets up a very uncomfortable situation, and these players are left in the middle. And the hitting philosophy, whether you believe the nerds or whether you believe the old school like Cora, having a middle ground is never going to work. I think everybody can agree with that. You need to go all in on one side or the other, and having a manager that believes in one and having a front office that believes in the other is not going to work.
Yeah, and I think this just continues to show how dysfunctional this franchise has become on the differences between the coaches and the front office. It really makes no sense. Like, it's just all just so dysfunctional, and there shouldn't be that much of a difference. And then our hitting has been terrible this year, and then you go and fire our manager. Why don't you go and just bring in a whole new hitting plan, not just get rid of I don't know. It all just doesn't make sense.
It seems like that was never going to be the case, because if the front office truly, truly believes that these Harvard nerds know how to hit a baseball better than major league veterans, and they're the ones that are calling the shots, then having a head coach that believes in the old school philosophy, frankly, was never going to mesh. And it seems like that we've been putting a Band-Aid over a bullet wound for 5+ years now. Now, this isn't to give Breslow off, get him off the hook. This roster stinks, and this lineup was always going to stink. But I think we can all agree that it's still underperforming more than it should. And that goes to the coaches that are with these guys every day, and the hitting philosophy that is shared with them every day, and that what they are told to execute isn't being done.
I think I said it last episode. It just didn't seem like this team was ready to come into the season. And with this much disconnect, it just backs that up. That this team, they didn't know how to do the ABS. This hitting philosophy is clearly, like, I don't know what they were doing, because there's a lot of people on this team struggling offensively. But I'm a little confused because Alex Bregman, there was an article, I think, that came out in The Athletic today, that Alex Bregman said that he liked Pete Batsey and that they were thinking about firing him and all the hitting coaches last year. But then Alex Bregman kind of spoke up and said, no, you shouldn't do that. He's actually good. And the offense wasn't bad last year. So I'm kind of confused on where it all went downhill this year and why there's such a big disconnect between the minors and the majors and between the higher-ups and our coaching staff. It just doesn't make sense to me.
On a bigger picture thing, I'm worried that there is still no direction for this franchise. What is our philosophy? Are we a big market team? Are we a small market team? Are we a team that invests heavily for the present? Or are we a team that is going all out with our young guys? We keep trying to play this middle ground, and it's so frustrating. You have to pick a side. When you go from Dave Dombrowski, who is the most win now, trade your prospects, sign the veterans, win for today general manager. And then you go to Chaim Bloom, who is the complete polar opposite, who wants to draft and develop everyone. And then you go to Craig Breslow, this stiff that somehow tries to play the middle, but is still a Yale nerd at heart. And we all know it, no matter how much he wants to try to convince us otherwise. The philosophy hasn't been clear since Dombrowski left. At least you can say when Dombrowski was here that they are here to spend and they're here to win now. But ever since he's been gone, we're going on half a decade now of a mission that we have no idea the purpose. Are we here to win now? Are we here to develop young guys? If you want to rebuild, just rebuild. Just do it. If you want to win now, then don't try to sell me on a 14-year contract extension for these young players that's going to sabotage the salary that you can spend today. Because that's not what you do if you're trying to win tomorrow.
Yeah, I agree. Like I was saying earlier, Cora is a perfect win-now manager. And with Dombrowski as your president of baseball operations, Cora fit that perfectly. And then when you go to these nerds who do seem like they want to draft younger players and kind of not spend as much money, kind of operate like the Rays in a way, then Alex Cora isn't as good of a fit for this team and for their vision. I'm not saying Cora's a bad manager. He's an awesome manager. He was never the problem. It was just the disconnect, and I really think they want to run this like the Rays, not spend a ton of money, get these young guys and develop them, not spend all this money like we used to, like what Dave Dombrowski did. I think Dombrowski and Cora worked perfect. That's why Dombrowski tried to hire him with the Phillies. He's a win-now manager. He's a players manager. He's a veterans guy. But then when you get these nerds in the front office, it's obvious why there's such a butting of the heads, because he hates the nerds.
I'm going to give you some Craig Breslow corporate speak here for a minute. I don't think that the Red Sox want to play like the Rays. I think that the Red Sox, and here it is, want to be a hybrid of the Rays and the Dodgers, which is the most crazy, ridiculous statement. And I throw up in my mouth saying the word hybrid as well, because that's something exactly that Sam Kennedy and Craig Breslow would say. But they don't want to be the Rays. They can't be the Rays because they have to put asses in seats, and they have to at least portray the fact that they're investing in the team with heavy dollars. But they also don't want to be the Dodgers fully because they're not ready to put those present-day dollars into effect. So what they want to do is they want to have the perception of being the Dodgers, but be run like the Rays behind the scenes. And it makes no sense. It makes no sense. You can't do that. You have to have one clear philosophy. It can't be a blend of 2, 3, 4 different philosophies into one.
Yeah, and I just don't get how you could blame it on Cora when you're giving him rosters that just aren't good year after year after year, and letting people that are good walk. Like trading Devers, letting Bregman walk, bringing in Durbin, bringing in Sonny, like just not giving him good rosters, and then blaming Cora for why we're losing is just dysfunctional and stupid.
For whatever it's worth, I mean, these rosters have been subpar. They have not been World Series worthy. And Cora has given us baseball seasons. He has given us meaningful games in August and in September. That's all that you can really ask for as a baseball fan. There's so many fan bases out there whose season is done by the All-Star break. And that is truly the worst type of season that you can have. That is the worst type of organization that you can have run. Alex Cora gave us contention. He gave us those meaningful games late in summer because he was able to turn crap into something half decent.
I mean, our last place finishes, when we did finish last with him, were like close to 500 seasons, and we were somewhat competitive most of the year. And we made the playoffs last year when no one really thought we were. We made the playoffs in 2021, and no one thought that team was going to make the playoffs after a 2020 season where he wasn't the manager. We were terrible. You're right. He does make these crap rosters into something watchable. And I know it's Boston, and we're expecting to make the playoffs every year, win World Series. But then when you look at the roster, that shouldn't be the expectation. And he does push that expectation every day, and he gives us watchable baseball. I think Breslow did Cora he did a good thing for Cora, because Cora left all of this dysfunction. He, for years had to put up with the BS of Henry and all of the Red Sox organization, and they let him. We're paying him for the next couple of years. Let him go be with his family. We did him a massive favor. You saw the picture of them all on that plane. They all had their thumbs up. They're all happy to get out of here. I really think that Breslow did him a favor. Yeah,
I completely agree. If I was Cora, I would be smiling ear to ear right now. I think it's very clear. I mean, I've said it before in the pod. Cora does not hide his piss poor feelings well. When he doesn't like something, he doesn't hide it. He'll let the media know. He'll bitch to the media. He has his go-to lines. The roster is the roster. I can only put a lineup out there that I'm given. He doesn't hide things well. And I think he does that intentionally. He wants to be transparent. But at the same time, he's putting on a show. He's putting on a show, and finally, he gets to sit back. He doesn't have to listen to orders. And just for a second, could you imagine if Sam Kennedy tried to tell you to do anything? Oh my God, what a loser. What a loser. Sam Kennedy is a puppet. Sam Kennedy is a loser. And Sam Kennedy, what an ass. What an ass that is the face of the Boston Red Sox. Every time there is big news that happens with the Boston Red Sox, it's Sam Kennedy's stupid face and dumb corporate speak that we have to listen to. And now he's got a Yale nerd in Craig Breslow right beside him that just echoes everything he says. And partly, I think that is why Henry chose Breslow over Cora, is that he sees a lot of Sam Kennedy in Craig Breslow. And if you watch that whole press conference, then you will see the same. They work very, very well together in the way that they handle questions, in the way that they piggyback off of each other's thoughts. They are one in the same mind. And that should terrify Red Sox fans, because if Breslow has that much of a connection with Sam Kennedy, and as a result, John Henry, this nightmare might be a little bit longer than we're expecting.
Yeah, they love it. They love everything about Breslow. They love the nerd in him, and it saves them money. They always talk about this being a business, running the Red Sox like a business. so they're not going to spend as much money to bring in more revenue. So they're going to keep nerds like this around that are going to end up winning this like power struggle between them. Because Cora wants the team to spend. He says the roster's the roster. He wants them to go out, trade for guys, sign guys, and John Henry and Sam Kennedy don't like that. They want to bring in money. They don't want to spend so much money like you see the Dodgers doing. They run it like a business, and that just doesn't work when like you want. It's just not the old Red Sox baseball that we were all used to growing up.
Nope.
A lot of people are now probably wondering what happens for the rest of the season, what happens for the future of this team in 2026 and beyond. I personally think that they'll stick with Chad Tracy. I know he's the interim tag right now. I think they'll stick with Tracy because they like him in his player development, how he works with some of the younger guys. He's worked with a good amount of people on this roster, so they'll probably stick with him till the end of the season at the least. He'll be able to play the young guys like Breslow wants, no more of this platooning stuff, and be able to maybe bring up the hitting philosophy that they had down in the minors up to the majors and to potentially have this offense get boosted. I hope they figure this out soon. I hate how they always make plans and not really have any sort of plan to follow through. They kind of just quick think, react, and don't really have a plan. So I'm wondering if Breslow sees Chad Tracy as the long-term future, or if they just kind of were like, we need Cora out, so let's just fill this up with something else. I don't like how they dealt with this at all. I do want stability in my coaching staff, like we were talking about in the last segment, that we need stability in the staff and stability within the philosophy, and we're not getting that. And I'm just confused because Breslow wanted to sign Cora for 5 years. He didn't sign for 5 years. He only wanted to sign for 3, but he wanted him for 5 years. They just signed Hudson, Fatsy, and Veritek to new contracts this offseason. I also don't like how they did Veritek dirty with the reassignment. You know he was not going to accept that reassignment, so they knew it was like a PR win. It was like a PR-friendly firing because they knew he wasn't going to accept it and he was just going to step down. So I'm hoping with their next manager, they actually have a plan in place. I do not like how they dealt with this at all. You have Henry not even talking to the team. You have players speaking out, talking badly of the surprise firing. So I hope with their next manager that they come out and actually have a plan if it's not Tracy and they want to go with someone else. But for now, I think it's going to be Tracy. This is going to be more of a bridge year. I think they'll focus more on player development, get the younger guys the playing time, and they'll probably at the deadline, people won't like this, but trade away veteran guys and trade away guys on expiring contracts. And this just to be a bridge year, and I guess it'll buy Breslow a couple of years with Henry, but that's what I think.
So I'm with you that I think they will stick with Chad Tracy. But if they don't stick with Chad Tracy, then they're just going to put some other puppet. And unfortunately, Chad Tracy seems like a real great guy. Unfortunately, he's just a puppet right now for that nerd front office that pushes all of these terrible philosophies. So why is Chad Tracy a puppet? Because he's the interim manager and he doesn't have any other choice. He's not out there making decisions. He can't ruffle any feathers. He has to do what he's told. One thing that you absolutely had to have taken away from that Kennedy-Breslow press conference is that Kennedy has very clearly empowered Craig Breslow. He has empowered Craig Breslow to be a decision maker, both with the roster and with how it's managed now. He made that very, very clear. So my concern is whether it's Chad Tracy or Joe Schmo, they are just going to be a Craig Breslow mouthpiece. And it's going to be really sad. It's really sad to not have a manager that actually is making any of the decisions. A manager that you really can't even hold accountable because they're not the chief decision maker. It's like when the Patriots had Bill Belichick and everybody in the front office was really just there for title because Bill Belichick made all of the decisions. Well, unfortunately, we don't have the greatest coach of all time. We have the worst general manager in baseball that is now calling all of the shots and has been given more power despite all the ineptitude that he has proven to shown with building a roster. Now, I know pretty much everybody listening to this podcast probably thinks that I'm going to say that the 2026 season is dead. But I'm not going to say that. And I don't believe it. I don't think this season is dead. I think this season is on death row. And I think this season has been on death row since opening day, since Caleb Durbin was plugged in to the 5 or the 6 hole in the lineup. So actually, the 2026 season doesn't really fall on who the manager is one way or another. The season was always on death row with the lineup that they thought was acceptable. This season can still be saved. It takes 1 or 2 elite bats to be added to the lineup. We have the ammunition to get that done. We have 4 left-handed starting pitchers signed long-term, 2 of which in Early and Tolley would get you a haul. It's been said over and over again, we have 5 major league outfielders for 3 positions. The opportunities are there to improve the lineup. So if they make those changes, it wouldn't surprise me one bit if this team turns it around. But at the end of the day, if you have Alex Cora, if you have Joe Torre, or if you have you or me managing this team, and Caleb Durbin is our 5-hole hitter and Andrew Monasterio is our cleanup hitter against lefties, nobody is turning that team into a competitive roster. I promise you that.
I agree. I just don't know if Breslow will ever make that type of decision. He's been pushing it off for so long, not wanting to trade any of our pitching. He had the opportunity to do it to get Ketel Marte this offseason, trading either Early or Tolley or Meyer. He hasn't made the decision on the outfield yet. So that also makes me a little surprised on why he made such a big decision on it was Breslow's decision on firing Cora, but he can't make a decision on trading one of the outfielders or any of our pitching guys. Like I don't understand that at all, how he can make that big decision, but not like some that'll actually make the roster better and could have avoided having Cora lose his job.
Yep. It's a cop-out type of move. It's a big decision, it is, but it's a cop-out to say that firing the manager is like this big change that Craig Breslow did. No, you loser. Trading a prospect for a veteran middle-of-the-order bat, that is a big change, and he doesn't have the cojones to be able to do that. I'll tell you, one of the things that Breslow kept on saying during the press conference, and whether this is more corporate speak or whether he for some reason believes it, he kept on saying, we're confident in the team in the locker room. We're confident in those guys in the locker room. And I understand, of course, he has to say that. But all winter he was telling us about how this offense needed another bat, how we needed more home run hitting power, and he did nothing to do that. So he's talking out of both sides of his mouth here. 3 months ago, probably 4 or 5 months ago, he's saying that this offense needs help. And now he's trying to tell us that he has full confidence in the guys in the locker room. It doesn't make any logical sense what he's trying to sell. He's just a nerd. He's a robot. He doesn't actually speak human words. He's just ChatGPT with a Yale degree.
Yeah, firing a coach does not make this team better. It is going out and get multiple bats, solve the problems on the roster.
I've got a couple of numbers for you here. So, last week we beat the Baltimore Orioles 17-1, and we scored 10 runs in the 9th inning. So, I want to take out those 10 runs that we scored in the 9th inning because many of them were scored off of position players. If you take out those 10 runs, we are 28th in the major leagues in total runs scored at 113, and we are dead last in home runs at 18. 18 home runs in coming up on 30 games. I mean, that is sad. That is pathetic. There is no manager that could be able to turn that around into a formidable team, let alone a playoff team. And when it comes to Chad Tracy or whatever puppet is going to be quote-unquote calling the shots here, it's very evident there's no leadership. And this is something that I spoke to in last week's episode, that the inmates are running the prison. And when there is going to be a manager there that has no real power, oh, we haven't even seen the worst of it yet. It is going to get worse before it gets better. And I don't know if it's going to get better. I don't know if there is light at the end of the tunnel. Because if Craig Breslow is empowered to not only pick the manager, but have a say in what that manager does, oh my God, that manager is going to have 0.0 respect. And I mean, it's already being shown. The comments coming out after the news broke, and how they broke the news to the team, where I believe it was Kennedy and Henry and Breslow spoke to the team. Garrett Whitlock and Trevor Story have some quotes out that are some of the most concerning things and should truly terrify everybody that considers themselves a Red Sox fan, because these are the guys that are now calling the shots. There is no Alex Cora. There is no mind of reason. There is no old school baseball head. Here's what Garrett Whitlock said. Quote, "They made it very clear that we get paid to play baseball, and we need to just focus on playing baseball. So that's where we're at." He was told, the team was told to shut up and play. That's what they were told. And let me backtrack for a second. This meeting that they had in the clubhouse was all Craig Breslow. Garrett Whitlock says that Sam Kennedy and John Henry did not speak. They were present, but they did not speak for this entire thing. So the guys that are actually the ones facing the meeting, the ones calling the shots, are radio silent, and they put ChatGPT with a Yale degree out front to just spew his BS. And Trevor Story, say what you will, he's had a rough season, but I don't think anybody doubts that, he's a baseball guy through and through. He wants to be out there. He's a scrappy guy. And, if I'm running a team, that is somebody that I do want to empower to have some sort of pull in the clubhouse. Whether I want him to be my number one leader, that's a whole different story, because I wouldn't want my number one leader to be batting under 200. But nonetheless, Trevor Story says, quote, "I mean, obviously, it's kind of up in the air what the true direction of the franchise is. Quote, some of the best coaches in the world didn't get a fair shot." Now, that second quote is him just throwing himself out there. That's understandable. But it's kind of up in the air what the true direction of the franchise is. This is your $24 million a year starting shortstop that is telling the media, we don't even know the philosophy. I mean, Mike, you and I are on a podcast talking about, there's no clear direction. The starting shortstop is saying the same things. You would expect that they would have some insight. No, they are left just as blind as you and I sitting here recording a podcast. The actual players getting paid with checks signed by their boss, John Henry, have just as much of an idea of the direction of the franchise as you and I.
That is absolutely terrifying. That is absolutely terrifying. When I saw those quotes come out, I was just left in awe. Like, that our star player doesn't even know what's happening. Just left everyone in awe. It's ridiculous. I also am surprised it took you so long to take credit for the Cora firing. You said it last week. I'm surprised it took you this long.
I did want to mention that I have been on a bit of a hot streak this year. Everything that I've said has come true. And unfortunately, if I knew I had this power, I would have used it for good. I promise. I would have used it for good. But instead, it appears that I used up all my prediction skills on negative Red Sox takes. So while, I'm not surprised that I'm correct, because I tend to usually be correct, I didn't think I'd be shooting shooting 100%. I didn't think I'd be batting 1,000 here, Mike. I'm sorry. If Red Sox Nation wants to blame me, I understand.
Can you please use your power on getting us an actual bat or a leader on this team? Because I am also terrified of the leadership on this team. We already didn't really have it. And Cora was kind of seen as like a leader to some of the guys. You get rid of that, and now you have a manager who was just managing at AAA, hops on a bus or a plane, and he just now all of a sudden has to manage these 26 major league guys who most of them he's not, like some of these veteran guys he's never spoke to ever, and he's just got to lead these guys who are left in awe and shock that their manager was just fired. You now have to turn that around really quick, and then boom, we gotta roll. They love when we're very high. This organization loves to shoot us down. Last year we swept the Yankees, and we were on a 10-game win streak, or we were on a win streak. Traded Devers. See ya later. Our best player trade. We win 17-1, and then a couple hours later, goodbye to half the coaching staff. I mean, they just love to shoot us down when we're up. There's one side of the coaching staff that are off scot-free, and that's the pitching side of the ball. None of the pitching coaches ended up getting fired. Did Craig Breslow really think Jason Varitek was that bad of a run prevention coach that they kept all the pitchers and then got rid of Varitek and he was the problem? Because I know he works a lot with the catchers and stuff and probably works a lot of the pitch sequencing, but was he really that bad to only get rid of him and Andrew Bailey and all the rest of the pitching guys are fine? That is a question to me. I don't know. Maybe because Breslow's a pitching guy. Maybe because they were teammates. I don't know.
Yep. I mean, Brian Bayo still stinks. And for half a decade now, we've been told that Brian Bayo is supposed to be the next big thing. And I think that those thoughts have all gone and passed, and we know that he's never going to be a true ace. But, I mean, this year especially is so concerning that you would expect by this time that he would be a very good 3-starter or at least a good 2. Last year was a great season. I believe he had a sub 3.5 and fell apart towards the end of the year. I came into this season. He was a player that I was very excited for because he should have a chip on his shoulder based on the way that Craig Breslow built the pitching staff around him. But he didn't. He came out much worse, and this is probably the worst version of Brian Bayo we've ever seen. And as somebody that we have invested already in, somebody that we signed early on, there are real dollars that we are allocating to Brian Bayo, might I add, for no reason whatsoever, to buy out a year or two of his free agency, but that's a whole other debate. There are real dollars associated with Brian Bayo, and we're not getting nearly the production that we need out of him. These bullpen guys that we've watched for years, they don't develop. They don't ever get any better. I'm still stuck watching Zach Kelly walk the ballpark, and Justin Slayton looks like Jonathan Papelbon in a 6-0 game, but the second the score gets close, this guy completely wets himself out on the mound. You know, I get so worried that if something were to happen to Aroldis Chapman, then the wheel of gutless bums that we would have to roll in for closer, oh my God, it would make every 9th inning as a Red Sox fan. I mean, cardiac doctors would have too many patients because of the relievers that us Red Sox fans would have to deal with.
You don't want Greg Weissert as your closer?
Don't even get me started on Weissert. I mean, he's a wiffle ball. He's just this sidearm slider wiffle ball throwing kind of pitcher. He's neat. He's cute. And this pitching staff and this pitching coaching staff specifically has made him the go-to reliever. And just to add, I mean, Craig Breslow survives. Cora and all the hitting coaches are gone. What have we seen from Craig Breslow that has said that he can adequately identify talented pitching and get the most out of them? So what Mike and I have done is we've gathered a list of some of the most notable pitchers that Craig Breslow has acquired since he's been in charge of the team. And I'm just going to run through these here with you. First, we're going to run through them all, and then we're going to tell you the clear successes and a lot more of the clear failures. Dustin May, Walker Buehler, Kyle Harrison, Sonny Gray, Johan Oviedo, Ranger Suarez, Jordan Hicks, Quinn Priester, Garrett Crochet, Lucas Giolito, Steven Matz, and Cooper Criswell. That's a lot of bums there. I think there's two names in particular that stand out as very positive good signings, or acquisitions, I should say, and that being Garrett Crochet and Lucas Giolito. Sonny Gray and Ranger Suarez, it is too early to tell. It would be unfair to give them a positive or negative grade at this point. But for Dustin May, clear failure. Walker Buehler, even clearer failure. Kyle Harrison, you gave up on him. Thus, that is a failure. Johan Oviedo, yes, it's early, but looks like a failure. Jordan Hicks, nothing more needs to be said. Quinn Priester, you gave up on him. That's a failure. Steven Matz, he offered you really nothing down the stretch when he was supposed to be your new go-to guy last year out of the bullpen. And the only one that really sticks out is Cooper Criswell. He's kind of all right, kind of exactly what you expected. So, what are we looking at? We are looking at 7 guys that are clear failures. We are looking at 2 guys that are clear successes, 2 guys that are still out, still the jury is out, and then we have Cooper Criswell.
I want to, oh my God, I want to bash my head in listening to that list. But, like, we when we hired Bailey, it's like, oh, we're going to get this nice pitching lab. He's going to change everyone. And everyone's like, oh, Brian Bayo is going to be like Pedro Martinez working with Andrew Bailey in the pitching lab. But this pitching lab hasn't done anything. If anything, it makes all of these guys worse. Bayo had a good year last year, but other than that, what have we seen out of Bayo? We're seeing Garrett Crochet stink it up this year. I don't know if it's because of injury, but we're seeing his velo go down. His cutter usage has gone up, just like Bayo's. A lot of these guys are using the cutter a lot more. Sonny Gray in the few starts has been a little iffy, but he's had many years of success. So we're kind of seeing them come into this pitching lab, ditch all of the pitches they usually use that made them successful, and they're going cutter heavy, and they stink. I know Jordan Hicks is terrible, but he was mad at how much Bailey was telling him to use that cutter instead of his fastball and just blowing people by with the fastball or any of his other off speeds. It just, they kind of are like cutter heavy, and you're not seeing it be successful with anyone. And this pitching lab isn't the pitching lab we were promised, so I don't get how none of these guys made it off free either. That the hitting staff. I don't get it.
I think it's just another example of the Red Sox thinking that they're smarter than everyone, and Alex Cora and his old school philosophy are the problem, and Andrew Bailey and his new school philosophy of working with the nerds and spin rate and all of that crap. That's what really wins you games. It's not actually the results on the field. It's the philosophy behind those decisions, regardless of whether they work or not. That is the issue at hand. That is where Craig Breslow, that is where his allegiance lies. And so all of these decisions, all of these types of things that we dislike about this type of baseball are here to stay right now. They are here to stay.
It's just going to be a disaster. We let up 8 runs today, and I know why. Because we don't have a run prevention coach. I don't get why we got rid of him.
That seems like the most important position out of anything. It's more important than the manager. This guy is in charge of preventing runs. You know what we need is a run scoring coach as well. Has anybody thought of that? Has anybody thought of that? Can I pitch that to Craig Breslow and John Henry?
Yes, go meet up with them and tell them about a run scoring coach, because it's just as important as run prevention.
Seriously,
we lost 8-1 today against the Blue Jays. If we scored more runs, we could have won the game.
Here's something. John Henry, cheap asshole. Everybody knows it. He wants to cut costs. John, I have an idea for you. We're going to fire every coach on the staff, and we're going to hire myself as the run prevention coordinator. But you wait. We're going to hire my buddy Mike as our run scoring coordinator.
Oh, yeah.
We have both sides of the field covered. You don't have to worry about anything else. You only have to pay 2 coaches. That's really all you need.
They love cutting costs. Why would you need to pay a hitting coach, assistant hitting coach, assistant to the hitting coach, all this crap?
No.
You can just get 2 guys.
Yep.
2 guys.
Yep. Run scoring, run prevention. That easy. Right?
Yeah.
God.
Just because it's an emergency episode doesn't mean we're going to forget about our lovely pal, Jordan Hicks. We're giving out the Jordan Hicks Award. My Jordan Hicks Award. You may notice there's someone missing from this episode, and that is Stevie G.
Mm-hmm.
Last week he said Jordan Hicks leaves him in confusion and frustration, and that's the feelings I'm feeling right now when I text the group chat. Are we still good to record on Wednesday like we do every other Wednesday? Oh, sorry, my bad, I completely forgot. Cool. Imagine if Garrett Crochet, Game 7 of the World Series, goes, oh, sorry, I forgot there was a game today. Can't pitch. Come on now.
With Chad Tracy in charge, I wouldn't put it past him. That might be in the cards. Except we would never be in a Game 7 situation. But, anyways, my Jordan Hicks Award this week goes to somebody that was a good friend of mine and also a co-host of a podcast that I run. His name's Stevie G. And we... He actually used to be a co-host on this Fenway Faithful podcast, but looks like he's taking a vacation this week. Looks like he let us know at the very last minute. So Stevie G, congratulations! You are the recipient of both of our Jordan Hicks Awards this week.
You actually didn't see in that picture of all of them on the team plane with the thumbs up that Stevie G was in the back.
Stevie's on the plane with Cora and the rest of the staff.
He was also fired.
That's awesome.
Everybody else. So this is how you're finding out, Stevie. You're fired.
Awesome. Hey, well, thank you very much for listening. Feel free to give us a shout on all the socials, Instagram, Twitter. Give us a listen, Spotify, YouTube. And Mike, am I forgetting anything?
No, that's all of them. We might start a TikTok at some point, but I'll eventually get to that. But we'll have an actual episode out at the beginning of next week. So listen to us then. Thanks for listening.
Woo!